welcome to this, and this is, as the title says, my review of WWE's Night of Champions. Yes, I know it's a bit late, but sorry, what can you do sometimes? Anyway, so this is my review, kind of a review. I'm going to go over it, kind of skim over it, because I know a lot of you wanted my opinions on the draft as well, and I'm just not going to have time to do a bunch of videos on that for various reasons. So, and I wanted to hold off until this, and I'm kind of glad I held off on this, but I'll get to that in a second. But let's get started. I have a lot I want to talk about, so let's go. We started off the pay-per-view with the WWE Tag Team title match, John Morrison and The Miz versus Finlay and Hornswoggle. I don't think this should have been an opener, and it was a good match. It was an okay match, particularly for what it was. I think it was far better than I think anyone would give it props for being. It was entertaining. I don't think it was good, but I think it was entertaining. They did what they could do. If this was on Raw or SmackDown, this would have been great. No question about it, in my opinion. This would have been a very good, entertaining television match. Pay-per-view match, not so much. Was what it was. I'll give it 2.5 stars and kind of be done with it. Next, we had Matt Hardy versus Chavo Guerrero for the U.S. title. This should have been far better than it was. I don't know if Matt looked like maybe he was hurt. I don't know. It was just sluggish. This match should have been at least good. It was okay. 2.5. Yeah, there we go. Next, we had the ECW title match. Kane and Big Show. Kane, Big Show, Mark Henry for the ECW title. This was a bad big man match, which sucked, given the fact that it was, a three-way. I mean, it's a three-way. One of the things why you do a three-way is so that you can have continuous action, even if you have 3 big men. This didn't work. This was just, ugh. I just wanted this to be over and over quickly. Through a 3.25 star, that's all this gets. Give me a freaking break. And Mark Henry going over, I'm not really big on. Next, we had the World Tag Team titles. Bob Holly, Cody Rhodes versus Ted Dibiase and his mystery partner. You could have done this on Raw. That said, I think this was okay where it was, because I do think they were pushing forward to this. If this had been here and the opening match had not been there, I think this would have worked. But you can't have both of those on the pay-per-view, in my opinion. It didn't go long. It was an okay segment. They at least ran with it, even after everyone figured out what was going on. So, hey, I'll give them props for that. For a segment, though, For a pay-per-view segment, I'll give it a star. It didn't feel like a pay-per-view segment, to be honest. Next, we had, let's see, Chris Jericho versus mystery opponent. Mystery opponent wound up being Kofi Kingston, which was a nice little surprise, and the crowd kind of got into it. But Kofi was Kofi, and this was just really not it was there, but not really there, in my opinion. It was okay. They popped for Kofi. They got into Kofi. Shawn Michaels came down, kind of cost Chris Jericho the title shot. Blah. 2.5 stars. Mainly because the crowd was kind of into Kofi, and that was about the best we heard the crowd all night. Next, we had the women's match, Mickie James versus Katie Lee Burchill. This should have been far better than it was. This was bad. This was not very good, in my opinion. 1.25 stars. Next, we had Edge versus Batista. Another match I think that completely under-delivered. This was good. 3-star match. That was about it. At this point, I was kind of just wondering what was going on, because you know how Edge kind of retained. So I thought, well, now we get Triple H versus Cena, and the WWE kind of swerved us without swerving us. Triple H going over, of course, retaining the champion. This was a great match. I will say it. I liked the match. It was the only match on here that I actually really got into, other than the other title match, which was good, but not not upper card type of good. But this was what it was. Triple H going over ticked me off, but for various reasons. And at the time, I was like, Punk should have came out. But looking back on it after Raw, if you haven't seen Raw, too bad, I'm going to spoil it for you. By now, you probably heard what happened on Raw. Punk came out really quickly and beat Edge for the title, becoming the new champion, which was very good. If you want my opinion on the draft, I would say this. Here's my thing about the draft. Triple H leaving Raw, as was seen on this past Raw, was a great thing. Go back and ask yourself, you had CM Punk win the championship, which he's probably just a transitional championship, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. You had John Cena come out and give a rub to maybe the most over tag team the WWE's had in, I don't know when, 5 years maybe? I mean, they're over. I'm talking about Crime Time. They are so freaking over, it's not funny. And finally, they kind of acknowledged that with them coming out with John Cena. Compare that to Triple H burying tag teams. I know people don't want to hear me talk about that, but let's be honest. That's basically what we had happen. To be honest, I think you could have had John. I still think you could have had something happen where I understand why they did what they did. I still think Edge is better as champion with Triple H chasing him. That's my opinion. Probably not a lot of people are going to agree with that. I'm sure, Triple H doesn't agree with that. I think Triple H thinks Edge should chase him, and he should bury Triple H. Or he should bury Edge. I imagine that's what Triple H is going to do. I can already see it. But you know what? I don't have to watch SmackDown. There's always that mental picture you gotta watch Raw. So at least now, I feel like I can watch Raw without having to deal with Triple H's crap. Overall, I thought the draft was what the draft was. ECW got screwed. ECW is always going to get screwed because if they use it the way it should be used, which is to start creating younger stars, starting to get guys kind of fan followings where they can feed them into the other brands, I have no problem with that. I think that's the way they should do it. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I think we still have a ways to see how everything's going to play out title-wise, but I have no problems with it, particularly now after seeing Raw, which was very good, folks. And if you have not seen Raw, I recommend seeing it. It was one of the better Raws this year. I wouldn't call it one of the best. I know a lot of people are probably saying that, but I wouldn't call it one of the best Raws, but I definitely would say it was a better Raw than kind of what we have been seeing. There was something different. There was something, I'm not saying that, they're going to get a huge ratings boost. I would be surprised if they got a huge rating boost. I'd be even more shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if the ratings dipped, to be honest. But I do think that they had to do something different, and they have to start pushing some of these young guys, particularly the guys that are over and already are over, and the fans want to cheer for. CM Punk, Crime Time. Kofi's a good example of this. There's guys on that roster, in the WWE that fans want to cheer for, but the WWE does not give them a chance to cheer for. Hopefully we're going to start seeing that now. So if we see that a year from now, or I'll say 6 months from now, if we start seeing that, I will say the draft is a success, because that's what they needed to be doing over the last probably 5 years, was this sort of thing. They haven't been doing it. It's kind of caught up with them. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see if the ratings were not even great, but I would definitely say that I think this is a good switch, and I think we're going to see something different from Raw, which is something I like to see. I wasn't really looking forward to watching Raw until I got home, and I was TiVoing it, so I happened to turn on my TV and happened to show up that, hey, CM Punk won the title, and that got me interested. And a lot of other people, it got them really, wow, CM Punk won. So it'll be interesting to see what it will do for the WWE. Like I said, I don't think Punk will have the title for a long time, but him beating JBL, I think, was a nice little tip of the hat to the smart fans of, hey, he is going to have the title at least for a little bit, so hang with us. Anyways, that's all I have to say. If I was rating the pay-per-view, it did have one great match on it, but everything else on the mat was just kind of there. So I'll go with a 6.75 because of that. Really, you know, if you've got a great match on a pay-per-view, it should at least get a 7 in my opinion. But I don't think this was worth a 7, so I'll go 6.75. Anyways, I'm out. Later.